You're right, technology.
Just curious, are you anticipating on going further with any secondary type documentary? The horizontal drilling is not, fracking has been going on for a while, but horizontal drilling is not. And we don't have all the research in, cumulative years in what the chemicals may or may not do in the future for future generations. So there is still a narrow band of research that you have to present against what they claim may impact future generations. And that's probably not something that you can answer here. I mean, we've been to talks for Penn State. We had one at Lycoming College where, scientists presented views of how fracking may impact future generations because they just don't know. They don't have the research behind them yet because there's not enough years cumulative to go by. So are you anticipating anything in the future or not?
Well, for the moment, I mean, fracking has been around for a long time, and horizontal drilling is a technique that allows to actually just position the drilling bit so it goes horizontally, into the shale, which is actually a very beneficial technique because it significantly limits the surface disruption, for the fracking sites because they can drill down and they can drill horizontally to their target in many directions from one path, and so they don't have to make, that many sites where they bring the rig and they bring the trucks and so on. So it's actually a very useful technique. But in terms of us, we were on television in January this year, and we were traveling the country and we're showing this. We're being invited by organizations like NARO and all sorts of various organizations all around the country. So we're focusing, we think there is enough there for people to, process and enough information to kind of make them think again about all those scary stories that are out there and make them, skeptical of them and make them go home and do their own research and make their own conclusions rather than just take, ready slogans from the anti-fracking movement. So we're just going to continue, promoting this movie and trying to get it to as many people as possible. But we do also have a very vibrant community online. We have a Facebook page of over 25,000 people. We have a quite large Twitter following. So any new stories that come out, any new reports, research, we put it out there on our social media, and I encourage every one of you to please join us. And the discussion is there, and we allowed, the views of other people. We don't do what Gasland's Facebook page does, which is they just delete any opposing views immediately. We have a real discussion going on, so that's what we do kind of on ongoing basis.
I want to talk a little bit about what you said about the horizontal drilling and not knowing long-term effects and those type of things. I'm a royalty owner, I'm a mineral owner, not a royalty owner yet, but a mineral owner, and there's always environmental concerns that we have. I believe part of the discussion should be the industry to assure us that what they're doing is safe, and I believe that it is, because when we look at, you see DEP's report, hydraulic fracturing has not caused water contamination. The horizontal drilling is simply a technique. When we look at certain things that are irrefutable, we've got the headline in the newspaper about, here's the complaints that have been filed with DEP over, water contamination. Okay, well, let's look at that. Let's look at that a little bit more in depth and parcel that out. The problem isn't depth. It's not what's happening at 7,000 feet and 6,000 feet. The weak link of anything is on the surface because there isn't a problem with the techniques of the fracking, the horizontal drilling. It's little things that are accidents, spills, people that are just simply working, but maybe have their life in the back of their mind and just something just goes wrong. It's an accident. That's the weak link in the chain. There is no large conspiracy to hide something and what have you. When you look at those numbers of when there's a complaint to DEP, they like to flash that 161 complaints or whatever. When you look at that, you know, it's, the gas companies presume liability. Under Pennsylvania law, they have to move forward and take responsibility, whether they're responsible or not, take responsibility for it until DEP rules what actually is the problem. So you will see the front page of the paper going, you know, water contamination somewhere. Well, it's judge, jury, convicted right there in the eye of public opinion. But what needs to be done after that is everyone moves forward, looks at what the problem is, what the problem has been, gone through, like with Sotner's there, come back after years, which it takes years to do it, and all the while the public opinion is stewing, and they're putting moratoriums on and fracking, and Josh Fox is gaining notoriety. When it finally comes back that, you know, the problem isn't Cabot, the problem isn't what happened there, it's shallow methane, it's whatever it may be, it's buried. That doesn't make the impact that the original story did. The problem's at surface, so horizontal drilling is a great thing, because if your weak link is something that happens on top of the ground, if you can minimize the number of times you're on the top of the ground, it's revolutionary. And that's what we're dealing with here, you know, so.
Are the Sotners the people that have the junkyard on their property?
No, I think that's another one. You know, in the history, in any rural area, you have a history that's taken place on that land for years and years and years, and no one thinks about what's going into their well. And, you know, there's junkyards, there's auto body shops, there's, you know, there's batteries that are 60 years old sitting outside of these places that are spilling into their wells. The problem is the integrity of the water wells to keep out those pollutants. The pollutants are surface down. Sometimes, you know, usually not even related to the gas industry. But when there's a complaint, of course, like I said, it's presumed liability. The gas company has to step in until it's studied and found out. And, you know, they supply water, and when it's found out, well, you know, oh, it was something that's been on that property for years. That's not told, and that's a problem.
So, to ask a question to the producer. So your film is portraying that a lot of the concerns right now that the people may be having concerning fracking right now are not high enough for us to really be immediately concerned, but as well as you know, I mean, there are some trends within our region here in Lycoming County, for instance, years and years ago when we impacted the land for mining. We're still suffering from the repercussions of mining. Those effects are still being felt today. Are you saying that there's no need to be concerned about the long, you know, the lasting effects of this fracking in our region?
Well, I think the industry of the past is also not the industry of today. I mean, today's industry is under such scrutiny, and they have so many eyes looking at them, and they have so many inspections, and they have to go and meet so many criteria. I mean, we saw the scene in the movie where the completion manager is actually describing, you know, the process that you have to go through to even begin drilling. I mean, there is a lot of regulation right now to protect the water, to protect the land, to protect the air, and so on. That's one thing. Second thing is the people, such as, you know, Trevor's group, such as Farmer in the movie, they are very, they're not, you know, just waiting there to be, you know, exploited by the gas company for their land to be destroyed, for the water to be poisoned. They are very savvy people. They know the land. They've been there for generations. They know the land. They know the water. They know the environment around them. And they actually have, you know, hired a law firm. They came together. They had a very strong negotiating position, and they negotiated about things that were important to them. And they are able to do it. They are able to talk to the gas company and say, we don't want you to position the, you know, the drilling, the fracking pad here. We want you to position it here. And because of techniques such as horizontal drilling, that's possible. So, you know, those people are actually very much interested in protecting the environment around them. This is where they live. This is where they work. And they have no intention, you know, to let it be poisoned and let it be destroyed. And the same with the people that work for those companies, because there is this impression that has been created in those, you know, those faceless corporations that just come in to those rural places, you know, for profit. If you watch Gas and if you watch Promised Land, that's the impression that you would get. Well, I've been in those places, and many of those people working for those companies are actually people who were born there. They're being trained by people from out of state just because the company will bring the most experienced, well-trained people to teach, the new employees how to do it properly, how to do it safely. But those people grew up there. Their own, their house there. They go fishing, they go hunting, they go hiking. They want to have and raise their families there. Those are people who are doing the job there. They have no intention, no interest in poisoning, the environment. And for the companies who are creating, who are going through the whole process, of drilling, of fracking, so then the gas well can produce for years or decades to come, that would be a very bad and very short-term business plan for them to poison everyone around them. They are there to stay for many years to come. So it would be kind of, it would be very wise of them not to do things properly because they're there for a long time.
And one additional thing is they've been actually drilling for oil was invented in Pennsylvania. They've been drilling in Pennsylvania for over a century, well over a century. And all the knowledge they've gained from seeing that being developed goes into the regulations that Pennsylvania has